You know, it's funny how some of the biggest moments in history, they don't start with a big bang, right? It's more like a series of quiet, almost invisible steps. A little conversation here, a small journey there, a move that only really makes sense when you look back. Well, we're going to dive into a passage in the book of Acts today that shows us exactly that, a kind of unseen divine strategy at play. So let's get right into it.
So, I want you to keep this question in mind as we walk through this story. How does God actually get us ready for our biggest moments? Because what we're about to unpack, it offers a really powerful and honestly a kind of surprising answer.
And really, here's the main idea for today. This part of Acts chapter 9, it pulls back the curtain on God's incredible, behind-the-scenes prep work. He's getting everything ready to launch the good news to the entire world. Seriously, it's like a masterclass in divine strategy.
All right, so our story picks up in Acts 9, verse 31. The early church is finally getting a breather. It's a time of peace, a time of growth, and with the heat turned down from all that persecution, what does the Apostle Peter do? He doesn't just kick back, no way. He hits the road. He starts traveling around to build up and strengthen these new little communities of believers. The mission is absolutely on the move.
And this is a really crucial shift. You can almost think of it as phase 2 of the mission. They're moving out from their home base, their headquarters in Jerusalem, and they're pushing west, out toward the coast. And it's not just about, planting a flag in more places. It's about expanding and consolidating. It's about strengthening that whole network of believers in brand new territory.
And Peter's first stop, this was no accident. This wasn't some random pin on a map. He gets to Lydda, which was this major crossroads town, just buzzing with people, with trade, with travelers. I mean, think of it like an ancient superhighway for information. By going there, Peter is so strategic, he's putting the gospel message right in the middle of all that traffic, where it can just spread like wildfire down those trade routes. So it's there, in Lydda, that Peter meets a man named Aeneas. And what happens next? Well, it's way more than just a nice act of kindness. This is a moment of divine authentication. It's a powerful sign designed to prove to everyone watching that the message Peter was carrying came directly from God himself. And to really get the impact of this moment, you have to wrap your head around this number: 8 years. For 8 long years, Aeneas had been paralyzed, stuck in bed. I mean, we're not talking about a minor little ache or pain here. This was a chronic, severe condition that, from any human point of view, was absolutely hopeless. And what Peter says next just perfectly captures the heart of the whole message. Notice, he doesn't say, "Hey, I heal you." He says, "Aeneas, Jesus Christ heals you." Right away, he points all the credit, all the glory straight to Jesus. He makes it crystal clear that he's just the channel, the conduit for the power and the compassion of Christ.
And the result? It was just undeniable. A public miracle like that gets a massive public response. The healing was so shocking, so incredible, that it led to the entire region, both Lydda and the coastal plain of Sharon, turning to the Lord. This one miracle was the catalyst for a huge conversion. Okay, so from Lydda, the story just moves a few miles down the road to the port city of Joppa, another really strategic spot. And it's here that we meet a disciple whose witness wasn't about a big, flashy miracle. No, her witness was a life lived in quiet, radical compassion. Her name was Tabitha, or Dorcas, if you're using the Greek name. And I love this. The Bible defines her by what she did. It says she was a disciple full of good works and acts of charity. Her faith wasn't just some abstract idea she held. It was like a production line of practical, hands-on love, especially for the widows in her town. So when Tabitha suddenly gets sick and dies, the proof of her impact is tangible. You can literally touch it. The widows she had cared for, they don't just come to Peter and say, "Oh, she was such a nice person." No, they show him. They're weeping, and they're holding up the very tunics and garments that she sewed for them with her own hands. I mean, these clothes are the physical evidence of a life just poured out for others. And what Peter does next, it's so powerful, and it really echoes what Jesus did when he raised Jairus' daughter. He has everyone leave the room, he gets down and prays, and then he just commands, "Tabitha, arise." And she does. She sits up. And the result? You guessed it. Just like before, this undeniable miracle leads to widespread belief.
this time lighting up the entire port city of Joppa. Now you'd think the story would end right there. I mean, 2 incredible miracles, 2 whole towns turning to the Lord. That's a huge win for the mission. Story over. But Luke, the author of Acts, tacks on one last little detail. It almost feels like a footnote, something you could easily just read right past. But this tiny detail, hidden in plain sight, it's the key to understanding everything.
The text says that Peter stayed in Joppa for many days with one Simon, a tanner. A tanner? Why would Luke bother to tell us that? I mean, who cares what the guy's job was? Why on earth does it matter where Peter was staying? That question right there is what unlocks this entire passage.
Okay, and here it is. This is the big reveal. A tanner's job, back then, meant working with dead animal skins. And according to Jewish law, that kind of work made a person ceremonially unclean. So for Peter, a devout Jew, to go and stay in a tanner's house, sharing a roof, eating meals there, that was a huge deal. It was breaking some really deep-seated religious and social rules. And the implication is just profound. It shows us that the Holy Spirit was already working on Peter, softening his heart, getting him ready to cross cultural barriers he probably never dreamed he would.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and connect all these dots. What we've been looking at isn't just a collection of nice miracle stories. These are all interconnected steps in a much bigger master plan. God is literally building a bridge from the Jewish world to, well, to everyone else. Just look at how this all flows together strategically. Step 1, God authenticates the message with power that nobody can argue with. Step 2, he prepares the messenger, working on Peter's heart and breaking down his prejudices. Step 3, he positions Peter perfectly, right there in a port city that's a gateway to the rest of the world. And why? All of this is the setup for step 4, the launch. The launch of the gospel to the non-Jewish world, the Gentiles, which kicks off in the very next chapter with a man named Cornelius. So, in the end, that's what this whole passage is. It's a bridge. It's not just a little side story about Peter doing some cool miracles. No, this is the essential, can't do without it groundwork that makes the next massive leap of the mission even possible. Seriously, without this prep work, without this positioning, the rest of the book of Acts would look completely different.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. God so carefully, so meticulously prepared Peter. He placed him with a specific person in a specific city for a very specific purpose that was literally right around the corner. So, the question for you and me is, what's our Joppa right now? Where might God be positioning you? And what unseen thing might he be preparing you for next?